Hello there. Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Hannah, but you can call me Gigi if you'd like. Today I wanted to sit down and talk about my first ever solo trip to Disney World. Solo travel is something I've always been interested in, but I've always been a little bit too afraid to finally sort of take the plunge and go someplace on my own. Every year I've said that I'm gonna go someplace by myself and I never do. So this year I finally took the plunge and I started the year off by doing my first ever solo vacation to Disney World. If you're interested in solo travel or seeing what a day by yourself at Disney looks like, stick around and see how it turns out. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more videos like this. Good morning. It's 6 a.m. and I am on my way officially to my very first solo trip at Disney. I took my first ever solo trip in January of this year, and I chose Disney World because I live in South Florida, so it's only a 2 to 3 hour drive for me. And Disney is someplace that I feel like I know well enough where I would feel safe navigating it by myself. I had planned to be at the parks for 3 days. Magic Kingdom on Sunday morning as soon as I got there. Hollywood Studios on Monday, spending pretty much all day at Galaxy's Edge. And then on Tuesday, it was gonna be Epcot so I could finally ride Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. On Sunday morning, my alarm went off at 5 a.m. and thankfully I was on the road by 6. I had checked the weather the night before and it said it was going to be absolutely beautiful the entire time I was there in the 60s and 70s. So I was able to wear my denim jacket with all of my Star Wars pins on it. I was very excited. I brought my North Face just in case it got a little colder, but ultimately I was just so excited for some nicer weather because it's just been so muggy down here in South Florida. When I do solo drives that are longer than an hour, usually I like to throw on a podcast rather than some music because it keeps me more awake and alert. When I used to do the drive by myself from Tallahassee back down to South Florida, I would put on a one-woman show in my car of Hamilton and then another one-woman show, usually of In the Heights or whatever other musical I was feeling that day. Theater kid, in case you can't tell. Recently, I've been listening to the last podcast on the left. On the drive to Orlando, I was listening to part 1 of their Lizzie Borden series. It is definitely an adults-only podcast, very much 18 plus as it deals with unpleasant topics and the unaliving of people. But if you think that that's something you'd be interested in, feel free to check out the podcast. Anywho, the drive there was largely uneventful and I ended part 1 of the podcast pretty much as I drove into the All-Star Music parking lot. When I stepped out of the car to go into the lobby, I realized it was not the beautiful 60 degree, 70 degree weather that I was promised. It was 45 degrees outside. Because it was 45 degrees and windy, I had to change out of the, I thought, really cute outfit that I had planned for my PhotoPass photos throughout the day and into my less cute but definitely warmer North Face jacket that I brought at my mom's suggestion. Thank you, Mom, for suggesting I bring a jacket. Otherwise, I would have frozen to death. Let it be known, I did look cute. I did look cute when I got here. Denim jacket, hat, got my cat backpack ready to go. It's 45 degrees. We will be changing right now. After a quick jacket change in the parking lot, I hopped on the next bus to Magic Kingdom. Now, I know most people, when they get to Disney, will go straight to Seven Dwarfs Mine Train or Space Mountain or one of the other major roller coasters, but I did not. I am now a big baby, as we call it, now that I'm older, and I get really motion sick on roller coasters. I didn't feel like taking my motion sickness medication and going through the line and riding these rides without my friends. It just wasn't worth it to me. So instead, I headed first to my favorite ride in the park, Pirates of the Caribbean. Pirates of the Caribbean is one of my all-time favorite rides, and it is not a complete Disney trip without me riding it. I absolutely adore the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. That and the Carousel of Progress are my two favorites. If I go to Magic Kingdom and I don't get to ride it, I will be very unhappy. When I got there, thankfully, there were these two wonderful women in line that I got to talk to the entire time, and it made the line move much quicker. The posted wait time was 25 minutes, but we didn't end up actually waiting that long, thankfully. The cast member ended up giving me the front row on the boat, but I do not like riding front row on rides, so those lovely ladies switched with me and I got the second row instead. After getting off Pirates of the Caribbean, I went straight to the Haunted Mansion next, which was a little bit of a longer wait, or it might have just felt like a longer wait because no one wanted to talk in the line. And I get it, not everyone wants to talk to strangers. It just made it feel a lot lonelier when everybody else is there with friends and family and you're just sort of looking around at the Liberty Bell and at the theming, just waiting for your turn to go inside. I was hungry when I got off the ride, so I decided to head over to the Friar's Nook for my first meal of the day at Disney. I ended up getting the mac and cheese tots, which were warm, filling, and delicious. I can't recommend them enough if you're in that area. Especially since it was such a cold day, it was nice to be able to have something like that to just help warm you up. After eating, I headed to the Little Mermaid ride. This was slightly less magical than the rest of my trip. The posted wait time was 15 minutes, so I went ahead and hopped in line. And right when I got to the part of the ride where you can see the ride vehicles, our queue was roped off and we ended up waiting for an extra 15 minutes on top of that as the people for Genie Plus were ushered through and they kept going and going and going. And I know a half hour isn't bad for park wait times. It's just the kids around us were getting antsy and everyone was pretty generally disgruntled that we hadn't moved and the wait time was double what was listed. But that experience aside, thankfully I didn't have any real issues with wait times during my entire solo trip to Disney. After that, I hopped on the People Mover, which is a must-do if you have time. It gives you a great view of the castle and a really great up-close look at the construction of the Tron roller coaster that's going on. Then I got my beloved Dole Whip. Dole Whip is my all-time favorite Disney snack. Nothing even comes close to it for me. I will eat it 5 times in a trip if I can. I cannot go to Disney without getting at least one Dole Whip.
45 degrees. I still got one.
And after that, I really just decided to walk around the park and just vibe. I got to visit my favorite spot over by the carousel, which is the Sword in the Stone, since that's one of my favorite Disney movies from my childhood. I got to hang out in Cinderella Castle and really get a good look at the mosaic in there. But one of my favorite Disney experiences is just being able to sit down and watch the Dapper Dans perform. Watching them perform Light a Rose always gets me emotional because it's my dad and I's favorite song, and I'm really hoping I can drag him to the parks this year so that way we can see it in person together. All right now, this is probably one of the biggest things that I did on this trip. I was able to get a table for one at around 3 in the afternoon at the Be Our Guest restaurant. I was literally so excited. I had never eaten like at a restaurant by myself before, so I was really nervous, but I was so excited to finally see what was past the gates over next to the Little Mermaid ride. Y'all, if you can, grab a reservation at Be Our Guest. They have this beautiful stained glass window with the picture of Belle and the Beast and the Rose. They have suits of armor that talk to each other out in the hallway. But the best part, hands down, was the royal dining room. The windows in the back were enchanted to make it look like it was snowing outside because it was so cold. And I spent the entire time that I wasn't eating, honestly just looking around at everything. in awe because it was so pretty and so well done. I got a glass of champagne for myself because this was largely a treat yourself trip, and the food was good. I just can't say I recommend it for parents of young children because the entrees on the children's menu are like beef tenderloin, pan-seared chicken, and there is a mac and cheese option. But if your kids are young or picky eaters or are looking for something that's more of a chicken tender option, this might not be the right move. My favorite part of the meal was definitely dessert. I can tell you that the gray stuff was indeed delicious. And the Beast does make rounds in each of the rooms, but he really only sticks towards the center of the room. So if you're more towards the edges, you're not gonna get a super good look at him. And after dinner and dessert were done, I decided to head to the other rooms in the restaurant to take a look around, and of course to see the Enchanted Rose in the West Wing. Now that I was done with my meal, I hopped on a bus to Hollywood Studios with one goal in mind: to secure a Rebel helmet. I have wanted two things for a very long time. The first is a replica of Luke's X-Wing helmet, and the second is my own lightsaber. I am very happy to say that I acquired both of those on this trip to Disney. If you can go to Hollywood Studios at night, I cannot recommend it enough. Batuu really felt otherworldly, all lit up at night. I got some of my favorite photos from my entire trip during that time. If you're looking for either Poe or Luke's X-Wing helmets, you can find them at a merch kiosk next to Rise of the Resistance. Poe is one of my favorites, so hopefully one day I'll be able to add his helmet to my collection as well. This is Luke's, in case you were wondering. I'm still really excited about it. It was during this time where I headed over to Savi's to ask about switching my time for building my lightsaber, because I knew that I was gonna cut my trip short at that point. I ended up cutting it short by a day, so I ended up leaving on Monday rather than Tuesday. I never made it to Epcot, unfortunately. It's not that it was a bad trip, it's just it made me realize being at Disney is so much more magical when I'm with the people I love. Don't get me wrong, I still had a really great time being able to be there and be in the atmosphere. I just love it so much more when I'm with my friends and family. The wonderful cast members at Savi's told me to come back the next morning, first thing, and add my name to the wait list. And with that, I exited Galaxy's Edge through Toy Story Land and took some photos and videos on my way out. Now, I'm an anxious gal, so staying in a hotel on my own for the first time was a bit of an experience. Hopefully, doing it more often, I would get more used to it. But it was definitely weird for me the first time. The next morning, it was literally 36 degrees and there was ice on my trunk when I went to pack my car. The grass and the leaves were all covered in frost. It was very, very strange as a South Floridian waking up, still in the state of Florida, to ice and frost. I decked myself out entirely in Star Wars pieces and got ready to spend a day at my favorite place at Disney. Originally, when I first got to Galaxy's Edge, I was gonna jump straight in line for Rise to see if I could get on it, but when I got there, they informed all of us that the ride was down and they didn't know when it would be operational again. They said we could still jump in line if we wanted to, and a lot of people did, but I did not want to. Instead, I went straight over to Savi's and put my name on the wait list as instructed. After I put my name on the wait list, once again, I just sort of walked around and vibed. I took lots of photos and videos of everything because it looked beautiful in the morning light, and everything was relatively empty because everyone was either in line for Rise of the Resistance or in line for Smuggler's Run. Now, I could have jumped on Smuggler's Run, but I didn't want to subject strangers to me yelling at them to do their job on the ride. It's actually a good thing I didn't, because within 10 minutes of me putting my name on the wait list, I got my text and I was asked to come back and go through the process of building my lightsaber at Savi's. I got back there as quickly as I could without running, because, you know, Disney rules. And they had me pick my build type. I ended up choosing the Peace and Justice build. They gave me my corresponding pin and my little card, and I got in line to wait for the next session to build my lightsaber. The Peace and Justice pin looks like this. I chose the Peace and Justice build because it allows you to build the lightsaber that most closely resembles the original Skywalker saber. And that's the one that I've wanted since I was 6 or 7 years old. This is 20 years in the making. One thing to note, pass holders do not get a discount on the lightsaber building process. I don't know if everybody already knew that but me, but I figured I would let y'all know just in case. Like I said before, I've wanted my own lightsaber for almost 20 years, so this was a big deal to me. I deliberately wore my sweatshirt that has the outline of the Skywalker saber on it, so that way I could get it as close as I could to that lightsaber build. I cannot recommend this experience enough. I'm an emotional nerd, I know, but I don't want to spoil this for anyone who wants to keep it spoiler-free. So if you don't want spoilers, just skip ahead to whenever I give you a thumbs up. Hearing Yoda speak and hearing the Force theme, I'm not gonna lie to you, I did cry. But I know I'm not the only person in that room who got emotional. You could just tell there was so much love in the room from everybody, and everybody who was there truly wanted to be there. You can literally hear me laughing like an idiot in the video where we activate them for the first time, because I'm just so unbelievably happy that I finally got my own lightsaber.
Raise your lightsabers high, builders. You have built a lightsaber just like the Jedi that lived before you.
Now that the spoilers are over, after that I really just sort of walked around and vibed again. I got my blue milk, which I will never go to Galaxy's Edge without getting. I have to get it every single time. I haven't tried the green, so I can't give you my verdict on it, but I can definitely recommend the blue. I got my blue popcorn that came in the little Imperial Droid popcorn bucket. And then after that, I left. I fired up my part 2 of my Lizzie Borden podcast, and I was home by midday. If you're comfortable traveling by yourself, I say definitely plan a solo Disney trip. It's so much easier to just get reservations for one person, and you don't have to coordinate with an entire group of people and sort of prioritize who wants to do what. You only have to worry about doing what you want for the entire trip. If you're a Florida resident and within driving distance of the parks, I say definitely go for it, because it's a great way to sort of dip your feet into the waters of solo travel. It's a good test to see how you'd handle yourself if you were someplace else on your own, and Florida residents can get pretty decent discounts on hotels, park tickets, and the like. Be Our Guest is 1000% worth it, but maybe reconsider if you have younger kids, and if you have the opportunity to build a lightsaber, do it. If you liked this video, please give it a like and hit subscribe to see more content like this. And comment down below, what's your favorite Disney experience? Or if you've done a solo trip to Disney, how was it? I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye!